Bank of America has said that speculation in this market has hit extreme levels and that stocks leading the rally have gapped up in a way that historically have come right after a violent valuation reset. Now, on the other hand, Goldman Sachs is calling for a 6% more upside this year within the market. And guess what? Both of these companies can't be right. As we started in 2026, my portfolio was sitting at almost $500,000. In today's video, I want to show you every decision I make. I've been getting a lot of questions about this on what I'm keeping, what I'm changing, and what positions I haven't changed or pulled the trigger on. So let's go ahead and get into it. Before I show you my decisions, I want to break down the environment that I'm making them in, because these are the same forces for every investor that is navigating right now, even if you know it or not. Now, three things that Wall Street are completely in agreement on. Number one, earnings are genuinely strong. When we look at the S&P 500 and the earnings growth, they're looking and projecting a 25% for a full year forecast. That is kind of high. Goldman Sachs raised their EPS forecast to $340. JP Morgan Stanley is calling for a 23% earnings growth rate with mid-2027 as the target, hitting 8,300 in that S&P 500. While earnings are growing at 25%, the economy is not broken. Two, AI capital spending is not slowing down. When we start looking at some of the biggest players, Google, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, they have spent a combined $725 billion in 2026, up 77% from last year, into AI. That money is flowing directly into our semiconductor companies. When you start looking at the infrastructure that we're building and also the software layer that sits right on top of that, that is where all of these expenditures are coming from. And then number three, of course, the Fed is on hold. No cuts expected this year. A lot of people are even speculating if we might see a hold or even an increase this year. That matters because it removes one of the biggest tailwinds that we could see that really drove the 2024 and the 25 rally, was the reduction of rates. Now, this is where they kind of disagree. And honestly, about this part, it's whether the evaluations are already priced all of what is really leaving or having any margin of safety in the market. The average S&P 500 company has seen a drawdown and really a maximum drawdown of 21% this year, depending on the company, even though the index in its entirety has held up incredibly well. And the internal warning signs are really there with the rotation. The top 10 companies within the S&P 500 account for 40% of the index market cap itself, which is kind of crazy. Bank of America specifically has called out crowded momentum positioning, which is my largest position in the SPMO, as it faces a high probability of seeing a flash crash. And I'm not ignoring that, but in the same time, I am not changing my allocation, and I want to show you exactly why in my portfolio. Now, there are three very specific positions that I am not moving, not a percentage point, not changing anything at all. Number one, the SPMO is staying at that 30%. Monday's video was the full case in its entirety. The momentum factor reconstitutes in September when Bank of America really warns about that crowding with momentum ETFs and the positioning. They are looking at active funds and hedge funds that are all really exiting at the same time, that are all carrying that same risk. I'm not selling in September. I'm going to hold through the entire reconstitution that automatically rotates about and really out of whatever is that crowded space and looking at what exactly is going to be working next. This mechanism is the protection we have in this ETF. If you didn't catch Monday's video, definitely check it out because it is all about the SPMO. Then we get into the VOO, that is staying at 20%. The S&P 500 this year is up 7.7%. And if we're looking at a 25% earnings growth projection for the full year, I am not going to change anything. I'm really going to keep that broad market exposure that we love to see, mitigating some of the risk, especially when the Wall Street Bank has really cautioned towards the end of the year. VOO, of course, is the foundation in conjunction with the SPMO. It does not move. It is staying the same, which is the true with the QQQM staying at the 20%. When we're looking at really AI in the super cycle, this has been one of the most powerful earnings driving that we've seen in the market, looking at $725 billion flowing into there. And then, of course, the addition within the NASDAQ with SpaceX. Don't know exactly what it's going to look like going forward with that company, but it's very interesting to see because when we start breaking out NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, these are the ones that are driving, again, the big AI trade, really the broadening and really the adoption of AI in general. QQQM is a perfect position to capture as those companies' productivity and margins really gain. That position is not going anywhere. Now, if you notice the portfolio, there are two changes that I made, and this is again going to be very long-term changes. Both came directly from the research I do on this channel and looking at ETFs in general, which is exactly how it is supposed to work when you're changing a percentage or a position. Now in this, I added the SOXQ at 5%. If you watch the SOXX versus the SMH 2 weeks ago, you already know why. The SOXX has beat the SMH by 20 percentage points the first half of the year, which is kind of crazy. And looking at the version that I bought, the SOXQ, it is infinitely cheaper. It is an expense ratio of the 0.19 versus the 3.4 of the SOXX. Same 30 holdings, same 8% cap, almost half the cost. I took some of the weight that I had within the SCHD, deployed it in here. Now the channel research directly produced a real allocation and a real change when it came to the portfolio. And this is the loop that the content is supposed to create, where it kind of overlaps and it does kind of go hand in hand. Now, of course, with that change, I trimmed the SCHD from 10% to 5%. This is a move that I really want to be transparent about because the SCHD has a huge, very passionate following, and the SCHD did exactly what it should do when tech-led momentum, when we're starting to see a lot of growth in the market. It lagged up 5-6% in the SCHD while we're looking at the SMH, up almost 72% in that same time frame. And the SCHD by any means is not a failing ETF. It is the SCHD being the SCHD, which was built for really the consistency and the value. Now, my honest reason for trimming this, I'm in the accumulation phase. I have a long time horizon of about 20 years and no need for dividend income at all. If I have dividend income in my brokerage account, I'm going to have to pay more taxes on it. And looking at a 22 to 24% tax bracket, it is incredibly high. So at 10% in a 100% equity accumulation portfolio, the income layer was really oversized. And a lot of people were even saying that I should sell out that portfolio or sell out of the SCHD at its entirety. At 5%, it still provides that dividend income floor in the VIG quality exposure. It is the right size for the portfolio, not abandoned in the entirety. Then we look at the SMH, which is the 15% is the position that we're really watching. Got a ton of questions today about the SMH or semiconductors in general. It is up 72% year to date. And the semiconductor cycle we're seeing right now with AI has been extraordinary. Micron at this point is up 242% this year. That kind of move really creates two risks that you can't really stress enough. The first one being the stocks have run that a correction is going to be required for the earnings to kind of stay in line and making sure that nothing goes wrong. It only requires earnings to come down a little bit or earnings to come in good, not really extraordinary, to continue the cycle going in there. Expectations for these ETFs and of course for a lot of these companies are really exceeding and getting to dangerous levels. Second is South Korea, really dominated by HK, Hynix, and Samsung. Just suffered one of the 5 worst plunges that we've ever seen in history, and they actually set a new record for this. The global memory cycle, the dominant chip cycle, not really perfectly in sync right now with each other. I am not selling the SMH, but I'm not adding to it at this time. It earns its 15% weight, and that's exactly where it's sitting. Then, of course, a lot of people still taking in account SPCX, the SpaceX stock. It is a live open decision. Now, I covered the IPO at $135, called the pullback scenario, which is what we've seen. The stock dropped 31% from its peak, exactly as the bear case had suggested, and it's currently trading around 154. Now, the bond issuance 12 days after the IPO was a new signal that it didn't have enough money to really sustain or what they were looking for. I'm interested possibly in a small position in the next 3 to 6 months. I have not pulled the trigger. When I do, this channel is going to be the first place that I'm going to share it with you guys, not to tease it, but I want to be front and really upfront with everything. The first half of the year gave me about a 20% blended return in this portfolio, and I am not expecting the second half of the year to look anything like this. When you look at the CAPE ratio of almost 41, inflation at 4.2%, the highest in 3 years, the Fed is holding on interest rate cuts. Bank of America is calling for extreme speculation in the market. These are never a reason to sell. They are the reason to recalibrate what you think is coming. The structure of the portfolio, looking at the VOO, the QQQM, SPMO, the SMH, the SOXQ, which we just added, SCHD, which we cut by 5%, and of course, the QTUM is built for long-term compounding machine. It is not specifically on one income, not specifically on 6 months We are talking 10 to 20 years in a portfolio. I am buying, and if there is a correction of 10 to 15%, all the way down in the market through dollar cost averaging. The K being elevated doesn't really change what I own. It changes what I expect for the rest of this year to be. So thinking of the big picture, my portfolio about $500,000 in a brokerage account, keeping the SPMO, the VOO, and the QQQM exactly where they are. The macro noise that we're seeing in the market doesn't change the long-term conviction, and you shouldn't in there. When we added in the SOXQ, that is because 5% of the research getting a little bit of exposure into something like the memory really makes a big difference. Trimming the SCHD from 10 to 5%, again, because I do not want dividends out of here, because the accumulation math really said to over the next 5 to 10 years in growth. Watching the SMH very carefully, but we're not selling at this point. Still evaluating where SpaceX is going to come in, especially less than what we're going to see in the second half of the year versus the first half. Not because any thesis has changed or been broken, because the starting valuations matter, and a 20% in 6 months is not just the baseline. Drop a comment down below and let me know, is there anything that you're changing in your portfolio as we go into the second half of the year? I read every single comment and I reply to all of them. Subscribe if this is the kind of real money accountability content that you want to see in a portfolio, and I'll see you guys on Friday.